Hello everyone. If you are new to the world of orchids, don't be afraid of them. Many orchids can be easy to grow if you take some time to learn what they need. They are not like traditional potted plants, they are epiphytes, which means that they do not grow in dirt but rather by hanging on to the bark of trees. We often get asked, how do I care for orchids? The truth is, orchids care is not difficult, it is just different. Orchids have a reputation for being difficult to grow when in fact many varieties make excellent houseplants with proper care. An orchid can be in bloom for months each year and can live indefinitely. In this respect, orchids are an excellent value as far as blooming plants go. As well, cared for and varied orchid collection can provide continuous bloom every day of the year. But the first line is how to grow orchids. There are more than 20,000 types of orchids around the world, and their growth is independent on a few factors. Proper potting, soil base, watering, and lighting are all components that are vital to an orchid's growth. So, we should take the first one, potting. Your orchid should be planted in a pot that has plenty of drainage. There should be drainage holes in the bottom of your pot to ensure any excess water drains completely. If your orchid comes in a pot that does not have this feature, you will need to repot it into one that does. And the next point is soil. Orchids should be planted in fast drainage soil. Using moss based or bark based potting mix is suggested. Depending on which you choose, the orchid care will vary. The bark based mix allows the water to drain quickly, so you will need to water your orchid more frequently. The moss mix retains more water, so you can go longer between waterings. And the next important tip is temperature. Orchids grow best in an environment that's 60 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 16 to 24 degrees Celsius. These moderate temperatures, in combination with a little air circulation, will allow your orchid to grow big, beautiful flowers. And the next requirement is light. Orchids should be kept near a south or east facing window if possible. They need a lot of light but not direct light. If they are near a west facing window, the light will be too strong, so you may need to put a sheer curtain on the window. North facing windows will not provide enough light for your orchid. And next important requirement is how to water orchids. How often you water your orchid will depend on your climate, humidity levels, and potting medium. Orchids usually need to be watered every few days. When it comes to watering orchids, the most common mistake is overwatering them. Root rot is a disease that is commonly found in this variety of plant. So, to avoid watering, water your orchid based on how wet the soil feels. Gently push a few fingers into the soil and then remove them. If you feel moisture on them, you do not need to water your orchid. If you do not feel moisture, it needs a soak. Another way to help you keep track of if your plant needs water is by potting it in a clear pot. A clear pot will show the condensation, and when there is no condensation, it's time to water. And the second point is misting. If you live in a dry climate or have an air conditioned home, you may need to give your orchid a mist on a daily basis. If your home has 40 to 60% humidity, this is not needed, but for anything below 40% humidity, misting orchids daily with a spray bottle is recommended. And the next important point is how to care for orchids after they bloom. After you have enjoyed the orchid's beautiful bloom, you will need to water, feed, and prune it to allow it to stay healthy. It suggested that you repot your orchids in fresh growing medium, bark, or moss soil. This will give the plant a fresh start with new nutrients. As far as fertilizer is concerned, fertilizer is essential for promoting reblooming in your dormant orchid. You will need to feed the plant by fertilizing it with a balanced house plant fertilizer 20-20-20. Thank